Doesn't it sound like heaven to love your teen so well that they can't help themselves but love you back? Welcome to Pivot Parenting. I'm your host, Heather Frazier. And together, you and I are going to build more peace and joy so that your family looks forward to being together in the fun times and so that you are strong enough to overcome any obstacle that your family might face. This is where small weekly shifts that you implement create lasting change so that peace and happiness can truly abound in your home. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the final installation in June, which is my favorite episodes reprising. Not all of them, because I have more favorites than just the few that I could publish in June. But this one is my top 2. It's my very second best performing, best listened to, one of my most referenced episodes that out of all 320 whatever. And it was published in March of 2022, and a lot has changed, but what I teach in this is age old, my friend, because it's lying. It is talking about why our kids lie. This is one of the most common frustrations of parents and caretakers, and I totally get it. Nobody likes to be lied to. Listen in as I break it down. If things that I say upset you, bear with me. Pinky promise me that you'll just stick it out till the end, because I promise it all makes sense if you're willing to listen. I love you. I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoy this episode. Please share it with people that you think might also learn from it, and we will talk to you next week. This episode was inspired by an Instagram friend who DM'd me and requested this topic. Before we get to it, I just want to give a shout out to my clients. I'm not going to name names or specifics, but they are just crushing it. I just want to brag about them for a second. My clients always come to me as like the last ditch effort before they just throw up their hands and completely give up, kick their kid out, decide they don't want to be parents. They find me. I'm desperate, really wanting to change, wanting things to be different. Those are the parents that come and find me, and I love them and I help them. They are doing so good right now. The changes that they are making and the realizations that they're having, it just makes my proud coach heart swell for them because I love them and I love their kids. And I just think teenagers are so fun. And when we can parent them more effectively, then we get to enjoy them. And that's what it's all about, right? So if you want me to come speak to your group, if you want to work with me, whatever it is, reach out to me. I love chatting with all the people. You can email me, DM me on social media, whatever it is. If you want to reach out and connect, I'll come speak to your group, or we can work together privately. Like I said, this is another Instagram request podcast topic on lying. And I want to just kind of zoom way out in a few different ways to get kind of a perspective and scope. Let's look at the full potential of a situation so that we can see the entire spectrum from one end to the other so that we can gauge, if that makes sense. On one end, we have a child with what is called oppositional defiant disorder. And according to the Mayo Clinic, this is a condition in which a child displays a continuing pattern of uncooperative, defiant, hostile, and annoying behavior toward people in authority. This behavior often disrupts the child's normal daily functioning, including relationships and activities within the family and at school. It is not unusual for these children, especially in their terrible twos and early teens, to be oppositional or defiant of authority once in a while. They might express their defiance by arguing, disobeying, lying, talking back. to both parents and teachers and, again, anybody in authority. When this behavior lasts longer than 6 months and goes beyond what is usual for the child's age, it might suggest that this child has oppositional defiant disorder. This usually turns into antisocial disorder, or previously and more commonly known to all of us as either a psychopath or a sociopath as an adult. Again, this is a bit extreme, right? And just a heads up, currently, the last time I was taking psychology courses, which was, goodness, a year or two ago, a child, in order to be diagnosed as a psychopath or sociopath, or what the DSM-5 now calls antisocial disorder, they lumped them together, it has to be seen and documented by a therapist for 5 years, and they have to be over the age of 18. So most children, when they turn 18, couldn't be diagnosed with this unless it's really extreme and they've been going to a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist for a really long time. But that's one end of the extreme, and that's about my extent of knowledge on it. The other end of the spectrum could be OCD, which specifically when we're talking about lying, they could have a compulsion to divulge and confess all of their wrongdoings. This is often called or associated with scrupulosity, which is like a moral OCD, that they think that they're terrible and they need to repent and be very religious. Otherwise, they're going to burn in hell. This is when your child has to tell you every single little thing they've ever done wrong, because they're sure that it's terrible. You have one child who will lie and not feel bad about it. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have a child that if they lie or even think about lying, they're going to tell you every single time. Now, I'm not a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist, and so I'm not going to really dwell on either one of those ends of the spectrum because that's not my specialty. My specialty is right in the middle. I'm going to address what is most common, just in the middle. A super common thing that all of us who are neuronormal tend to do, we like to sit around and discuss what's going on around us. Oftentimes we spend a lot of time telling everyone what we dislike and how other people are lame. And they need to do it how we think it should be done. They need to think like us. And truth be told, we may be right. But it's still the same. Things are happening. We may not like what's happening between Ukraine and Russia. We may not like how our government is responding, or maybe we do. We may or may not like the current mask mandates or vaccination mandates or whatever. But it's pointless to talk about how it shouldn't be happening the way that it is. Let me give you an example. It feels valuable to reject aspects of our reality that we don't like. But when we look a little closer, we can see that it's not helpful. And I want to give you an example. And I'm going to use Russia invading the Ukraine and your child lying. And I just want to make sure that you know that I'm not saying a lying child is in the same realm as bombings and invasion. I just want to illustrate that this habit is all over the place in our heads and in our social world. And I want to give two very different comparisons to illustrate that. So in one circumstance, we have cities being bombed and invaded. And on the other hand, we have perhaps my child lied to me about where they were or what they were doing. In both situations, it's easy to reject and say this shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't have done that. That's bad. It's cruel, it's morally wrong, and it's catastrophic for the future. And those beliefs around it could cause emotions like anger, fear, disbelief, horror, disgust. And from those emotions, we're going to tell anyone that we can get our hands on, whether it's in person, social media, our child themselves, spouse, friend, whomever, why it's not okay and why it's this major problem. And our brains spin out in this hamster wheel of rejection and upset, and it runs so fast and it just spins and goes over and over and over. And we repeat it over and over and over, and it becomes more dramatic as we repeat it over and over because we get better at telling the story. We fine-tune the dramatic effect, and we never actually get anywhere. How could this happen? This isn't okay. Someone needs to fix this. Why would they do this? This is catastrophic. The future is doomed. So then we might lash out, we might micromanage or avoid, but we stay very, very busy doing these things with very little to show for it. Ultimately, our result from this pattern is that we just create more of what shouldn't be happening. We become less effective. We think that what they're doing is wrong, but we're also not acting from our highest moral state. And this result isn't because of the people behaving the way that they are. It's because of our belief that it shouldn't be happening. Are you with me? In order to change the result that we're creating in our lives, we have to change our beliefs. And many times we want to skip that part. I'll have clients just say, tell me what to do differently. How do I fix this? What do I say? But change has to be higher up the chain than how we're behaving, what we're doing and saying. We have to change how we are thinking. I guarantee you that whenever there is a successful response in what could be or is a very catastrophic situation, it's not from the leader thinking they shouldn't have done this. No, it's from a place of acceptance that it happened and then asking themselves, and now what will I do in response? This is the space in which we want to approach our teens' choices, including lying. Now, I can hear you saying, but lying is bad and they shouldn't. Sure, you might be right. But if your kid is lying to you, that is your reality. And fighting the reality of their choices always sets you up to spin and spin in that hamster wheel of denial where you have a lot of exertion and nothing to show for it. This is the least powerful position that you can place yourself in. I can also, as I'm speaking, I can hear my clients saying, so what? I'm just supposed to be okay with them lying to me? Also, no. There are more than two responses to what we can do in this situation. Response one is think that they shouldn't lie and reject the reality. Number two is to roll over and let them lie and do what they want, essentially being a really permissive parent. Also, not super helpful, and parents usually don't like the way that feels either. So the third option, which I'm going to suggest, is to allow them their agency because they're going to use it anyway, and maintain your agency. Now, how do I want to parent? That's what it looks like. Note that in this third response, no time or energy is an argument that they shouldn't have lied. It's simply saying, how do I want to show up in this situation? So this week, I talked with my kids and I asked them why they have lied to me. First off, I just want to point out that none of them denied having lied to me in the past, which was kind of nice. I was wondering if they would, but they didn't. And the feedback that they had for me was mostly on point with what I had come up with. But here are a few of their responses that I want to share with you so that you can see the inside of a kid's brain. And some of these are also things that I have put together. But here's the list. One of my children said, "I already know what you think, and I didn't want to comply. I didn't care. You had your opinion and mine was different." One child said that they didn't want me to treat them differently, which can happen, right? And I think that this was from a more judgmental state rather than like punishing is the angle that they intended that. Another one was that they feared punishment or that they felt justified in lying because they thought that I was wrong and they were right. And so it didn't bother them to lie to me because they agreed with themselves. How unexpected, right? One child said that they feared my reaction. Either that I would yell, cry, be disappointed in them. Imagine your teen walking into the room and your heart skips a beat because you're so excited to see them. Just connection, love, and peace flowing between you. You're confident that no matter their mood, it's going to be okay. This is the powerful skill set my clients gain. Book a free Discover Your Disconnection Pattern call with me, and I will outline your exact process to find the peace, connection, and confidence in your teen and their future you're wanting. Visit my website, heatherfraser.com, or click the link in the show notes. Remember, Fraser is spelled with a Z-I in the middle. I look forward to meeting and helping you. I just want to say that our kids really, really want our love and approval. And if they fear judgment, they'll lie because they want us to love and like them and approve of us. And they'll risk us not finding out. Another thing that they said is they felt justified that their perspective was right. And so then they get to behave in accordance with their value system, not mine. And I would also like to add to this list that lying for our teenagers is developmentally normal. I promise. I know that's not sometimes what we want to hear, but actually when I have explained this to my clients, they can find some relief in it because it's always comforting to hear that your child is doing it okay. Even like when they're babies and they have goose eggs all over their head and it hurts, it's like, oh no, they're supposed to fall when they're learning to walk. It's comforting to know that the goose eggs aren't in vain. Them getting caught in lies, not in vain. They actually need this to grow and develop. Their brain is learning their limitations. Teens, my friends, they are risk-taking machines. They will drive too fast. They will have sex. They will lie. They will cheat. They will steal. They will overcommit themselves and have way too many obligations. They'll push themselves in all the realms that they choose to see what they can and can't do and what they can and can't get away with. And it's actually a great place for them to do this in their adolescence because they're still living at home and they're minors. And so this is the safest place that they can learn all of these lessons. How little homework can I do and still pass? That's a valuable lesson for when they have a career. How little can I do and get by? And does that serve me? They're all really valuable lessons, and lying is one of those lessons. All of this boundary pushing and seeing what they can get away with, they all speak to gaining the awareness of what they can and can't handle. So if you're permissive, if you just allow them to do whatever they please, chances are good that they're not going to learn these really important boundaries of what they can and can't do when the stakes are small. It could be that maybe colleges or the judicial system teaches them that they're accountable for their actions and mom can't save them. On the other end of this extreme, you may have a militant parent who comes down so hard and is so controlling that the child becomes really good at getting away with having a burner phone, lying, sneaking around. And parents also lose in that situation. Your teen, you guys, they will always be able to outsmart you, especially with technology. It's their native language. It is not ours. Again, it's the middle ground where we can parent the best and have the healthiest influence over our child. If you picture trying to build maybe a pier or a bridge or something that goes out into the ocean, and you're designing this to resist and fight the ocean, chances are good that that bridge isn't going to stand for very long. The smart designers, they design to go with the water, to comply to nature, to move a little bit and to shift with the waves in a safe fashion so that the bridge or the pier remains standing and the water isn't a problem. In fact, it can even be supportive or helpful to the structure. That's our goal. This looks like having rules and consequences, maybe even listening to their input. You guys, I did a whole podcast on rules, so for sure go find that one for more in-depth on this. But getting their input and respecting their opinions and thoughts and listening to them and deciding on things that feel good to everybody involved. It's accepting that our kids have agency and they will use it. Sometimes we'll love this and sometimes we won't. And that's part of the deal. Another is accepting the fact that we all lie. Yes, even us. Hey, how are you today? Oh, I'm great. How are you? When in all reality, you're like, well, let me just tell you about my day. It's terrible, but I don't want to go over it. I don't know that you want to hear it. And so I'm just going to lie to you and say I'm fine. Or, how's your son doing? Oh, my son is fine. How's yours? So good. When in all reality, they were just diagnosed with depression and they're suicidal and you're freaking out inside. But you don't trust this person enough to keep that confidential or to not judge you or treat your kid differently. So you don't tell him, you lie to him. Or on the flip side of that, you're like, sweet, my kid just got an interview to Stanford, but I don't want to hurt your feelings because I think your kid is probably going to go to the local university. I don't want to hurt your feelings, so I'm not going to mention it. Right? Or this is a good one. What do you want to do for the next family reunion? Chances are good you have a lot of opinions and you're probably not sharing them. Or if somebody asks you directly, you're not telling your whole truth. Everyone withholds. They tell what they think the other person wants to hear, but we justify doing that because we like our reasons for doing so. It's the same with our kids. So we need to approach when we catch them in a lie with understanding. It's a far better question to ask. What were you hoping to gain or avoid by not telling me the truth? When we catch our kids in a lie, we don't want to make it about how they've lost our trust or disappointed us. That's really reactionary and we're making it about us. When our children lie, it's an invitation to gather information rather than get upset. Now, they may share, they may not. And if this has been a sore spot in the past, they may even lie to you in answering your question about why they lied. And that's okay. Like I've talked about in other episodes, We can't force our kids to do much of anything, but we can create an environment that encourages the behavior we prefer. How we react in these very situations is directly creating that environment, good or bad, that our kids are influenced by. And I just want to give you a heads up, they will always believe your actions over your words, just like you and I. If one of your girlfriends says, "Oh, I'm only late when it's not that important, but for the big deals, I'm always on time." Well, guess what? If you're attending something that's a big deal together and they say they'll be on time, chances are good that you're not going to believe them and you'll behave like you did in all of those less significant situations. If you tell your kid that when it's really important, you're not going to flip out, but dirty dishes, tardies, and texts from the school, little white lies turn you into a yeller, they're not going to trust you to honor your word of composure when they say they've been lying about where they've been, or that they're cutting, or what they've been up to, or what they're searching on the internet. And so this is my pivot that I want to offer you, my friends. I want you to rethink your beliefs about lying. Most people hold it in high contempt. But most, if not all of us, lie at times. Even if we justify it because we think that it's the best thing for the situation or for the person that we're lying to, we all lie. And we like our reasons when we do. This doesn't necessarily make it either wrong or right. It just is. It's part of the human experience. And when we make a big deal, it becomes one. But if we can accept this human quirk and work with it rather than against it, it does not have the destructive power that it otherwise would. You guys, lies are always a sign that we parents have something to pay attention to. But this is really hard to do when we think that the lying shouldn't be happening. You might not like me telling you this, you might totally disagree. Our kids should be lying to us. They should. And their lies are the canary in the coal mine. Rather than explode, get very quiet and tune in and pay attention to what's going on. What they're not telling you is a lot of information. And to dial in and to read between the lines and to get curious is the most empowering position to understand what is going on and help them to the best of our abilities. So I invite you to pay attention when there's lying going on. There's something there. But if you quarrel with the reality that they're lying to you, it will be very hard to see. That's what I have for you. And I just love the kids, even when they lie. I don't like it. I'm not anticipating that everybody after listening to this is going to be like, yay, they lied to me. That's not it at all. You can still prefer to not have lies, and that's cool. That's kind of where I am. I prefer to not have lies, but I understand why they happen, and it doesn't have to be the problem that we make it. You guys, this podcast is like a cookbook of really great recipes. They're healthy and they're delicious. And every week when I prepare them, I really hope that you enjoy them. I work hard for you to get value out of each one. And I try to be as concise as possible in how to execute each directive for you. But sometimes we don't want a recipe. Sometimes we're tired. Sometimes we lack confidence in our ability to execute the directions properly. And we don't want to waste time and energy in trying something new, only to potentially get frustrated, think it's a bad recipe, or give up. So I want to liken this podcast, it's DIY. It's like a recipe. On the other hand, coaching with me, working with me one-on-one every single week is like we're in the same kitchen together. And I've got everything that we need to ensure your success. I've got all the right ingredients. I've got the right equipment. I know the timetable. So I want to invite you, if you are ready to take what you're learning here and swap from DIY to professional help, if you want to next level the health of your family dynamic so much faster than what you're getting here, you need a professional next to you during this process. If this sounds interesting to you, let's get on a call. Did you guys know that I offer a free hour of my time? I listen to your specific needs, and everybody leaves that call with the strategy that they need to execute the next steps to get to where they want to be. And with my clients, we go step by step. They're never alone. We email back and forth. They are always supported. So my invitation to you, besides reconsidering your framework around lying, is to give me 4 months of your time. That's what it takes. And I will give you the confidence that you need to parent at your very best. The best that you can't even picture yet. You don't even know how good it is. It's kind of like seeing the picture on the cookbook and then actually eating it. It's a completely different experience. That's what I offer you. Delights that you don't even know exist yet. You guys, it's so good. My clients are crushing it. You can crush it too. That's what I have for you. I hope that you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.